Ladies and gentlemen, by special arrangement with famous artists of the air, the sponsor of this program presents Mr. Eddie Dowling in another episode of his Reminiscences of Victor Herbert. Mr. Eddie Dowling.
The late Andrew Carnegie once was credited with saying that his idea of heaven was to be able to listen to all the music by Victor Herbert that he wanted to. What a wonderful tribute. The remarkable thing about Victor Herbert was that he only began to write at the time that most men begin to think of retiring. Just imagine. He was 35 years of age when he wrote his first operetta, which was called Prince Ananias. When he died in 1924, he had written upwards of 50 operettas, 2 grand operas, a great many instrumental pieces, and had been called in on numerous occasions by producers to bolster up the musical score of other composers. He was a tireless worker, a human dynamo, impulsive, romantic, and sympathetic. His gift for making friends was as great as his talent for writing music. The fact of his Irish birth and German education accounted for his peculiar accent, which was a mixture of German and Irish, with the Irish, of course, getting the upper hand. He always returned a deep affection for Ireland, and especially old Irish music. We had become such close friends that scarcely a day passed that I didn't see him, except perhaps when he was writing or rehearsing a new play, in which case I would tactfully stay away until he sent for me. During the season of 1916, I hadn't seen him for some time. He was in the final rehearsals of Prince's Pat. One afternoon, on returning to my hotel, I found a message from Victor asking me to drop in at his theater. I lost no time getting there, and as I entered the theater, the tenor and the prima donna were preparing to sing their big number. So I sat down in the last row to listen.
All right, children, that's fine. Now let's take that ensemble.
I said, life is but a test. Pass the time with
Now we'll rest a while. Who's that sitting back there?
Eddie Dowling, Victor.
Hello, Eddie, my boy. Where have you been hiding yourself? I don't suppose I'd ever see you if I didn't send for you.
Oh, you know better than that. I just didn't want to bother you while you were rehearsing.
I'm never too busy to see a friend. How'd you like to drop in to see me after the show tonight?
Oh, that'll be fine.
I'll expect you.
I'll be there.
Excuse me now. I've got to get back to this rehearsal.
Sure. Needless to say, I took advantage of his invitation. On arriving that night at his apartment, I was surprised to hear the strains of an accordion coming through the door.
Come in. How are you, Eddie? Come in, my boy.
Hello, Victor. Don't let me interrupt the concert.
That's all right, lad. I'm glad you came. I want you to meet two old friends of mine, Joe and Mickey Flanagan. This is Eddie Dowling, boys.
Hello, Joe. Hello, Mickey. How are you?
You know the rest of the boys, Eddie.
That chorus over there, I know every one of them, too.
Have you ever been to Ireland, Eddie?
Not yet.
Well, these lads will bring back a breath of old Ireland to you. Go on, boys. I tell you, that's the music to make your blood tingle, laddie. There's something wild and romantic about it, like Ireland herself.
What part of Ireland were you born in, Victor?
I was born in Dublin in 1859. My grandfather was Samuel Lover, a well-known Irish novelist. He wanted me to be a doctor, but from the time I was able to talk, I showed such a passion for music that my mother, God rest her soul, decided I was going to be a musician. So, at the age of 7, off I went to Germany to begin my musical education.
It must have been quite a change from Ireland.
Indeed it was. Everything was different. The music, the people, the customs. But I grew to like it all, including the beer.
Not at the age of 7.
No, that came later.
Weren't you homesick for the old country?
Naturally, but only for a short time. I soon became so engrossed in my studies I didn't have time for anything else.
Let's see, you must have been in Germany during the Franco-Prussian War of 1870.
Indeed I was. Many a time I saw Bismarck, the Iron Chancellor, and the Kaiser, who was just a lad like myself at the time.
How did you take to the German music?
Like a duck to water. But then I was born with a love of all music. My mother loved it. My first recollection of song was an old camalie she used to sing to me. It went like this.
Oh, I know that. Gosh, my grandmother used to sing it. I even know the words of it. Listen, is this it? Whenever you go to Syndication, you look to the hole in the wall, you get your eggs two for a penny, and you're but the fun upon the pal.
That's it. Many a night I've gone to sleep to the strains of that melody.
Say, you had an Irish song in Eileen that I love.
You mean Thine Alone?
That's it. Won't you play it again first on your cello, Victor?
All right. See if you can follow the swing of it.
Arabian Night could not have been more wonderful than the nights were to me that I spent in Victor Herbert's company. His life had been so colorful, his experience so varied, and with a never-ending source of interest. He was always kindly, always in good humor, always a perfect gentleman. But best of all, he was always a true friend.
This is Louis Reed announcing this program of the Reminiscences of Victor Herbert, as told by Eddie Dowling, a production of Famous Artists of the Air.